today's New Testament reading, we see that Paul is describing how he adapts his approach depending on who his audience is. When speaking to Jews, he emphasizes that he too is a Jew. To those who are living under the law, those who follow the law that Moses set out in the early books of the Bible, he behaves like one under the law, though, as he does tell us himself, he is not under the law anymore because he is now a follower of Jesus. But to those who are not living under the law, he becomes like one not under the law. And whilst this might make us think that Paul isn't quite sure what or who he is, of course we know that that's not the case from the accounts we read of him in the book of Acts and from the many of his letters that we also have in the New Testament. And indeed, as he says in today's reading, he is under Christ's law. Paul knows who he is and what drives his life. Now, what Paul is doing here is he's showing that when he meets people, he meets them where they are. He comes alongside them and recognizes what he has in common with them as a starting point for then sharing the good news, for sharing the gospel with them. Paul is being adaptable to the circumstances in which he finds himself. Paul is showing adaptability, the ability to change. And as Sally said, and as the little activity hopefully hinted at, that is the theme for the sermon this morning: adaptability and being open to challenge and change. Now, the gospel passage that I just read is more commonly used as an example of forgiveness, especially as it starts with Peter asking Jesus how many times he should forgive. Peter thinks he's being very generous by saying he will forgive 7 times, but as we see, 7 is way, way short of what God expects. But I've chosen this reading this morning because it also is an example of adaptability. In it we hear how the master is prepared to be adaptable, is prepared to change and forgive the debt when the servant pleads with him. But though the servant has been forgiven a huge debt, he is not adaptable to the person who owes him a lesser amount. He doesn't change, and in the end, he suffers the consequences of this. Change. I wonder how you feel about change. Do you love it? Or does it make you feel a bit uncomfortable? Do you welcome it? Do you run towards change? Or do you try and avoid it at all costs? As some of you might know, for many years I've been a part-time lecturer at Warwick University, where I teach leading change management to engineering students. And often when this comes up in conversation, people's responses are something along the lines of, "Oh, that must be really hard because everyone hates change." Do you hate change? And my observation is that actually people don't hate change. They often welcome it, choosing to visit different places for their holidays, reading different books rather than only reading the one single book again and again and again, varying what they eat for supper, unless, of course, you have leftovers from the night before. But there can be a danger that we slip into habits, we slip into a rut, where we find ourselves doing the same sort of things, choosing the same curry when we go out for a meal because we know we like it, or perhaps opting to choose the safe flavour of crisps because we know that will be okay. Or returning to a holiday destination because we really enjoyed ourselves last time we visited that place. And of course, it is okay to repeat the enjoyable, to return to the familiar. But there is a danger that if we always do the same thing, we don't learn new things. If some of you hadn't been brave enough to eat the mystery crisps, you wouldn't have found out that you love or hate that particular flavour. Eating the same curry might be comforting, but by doing so we miss out on finding out about a new curry that we might like as well. But we might be nervous that the new curry won't be as good as the one we've had before, and so we might regret choosing this new curry, and instead of enjoying the difference and perhaps noting, because we didn't like it, well, we won't have that one again, we choose to go with the familiar. It's through trying the new that we not only find out new things that we might like, but we also find out those things that we perhaps don't like. As Thomas Edison is reputed to have said when yet another attempt for creating an effective light bulb had failed, his response being, well, I found another way how not to make a light bulb. As you are perhaps aware, earlier this summer we launched our updated Mission Action Plan, a collection of activities and initiatives for caring for each other and our community and sharing the gospel with others. These ideas were discussed by various groups within the church and then prioritised by the use of red and green dots. Last week, Sally mentioned the idea for a community cafe, one of the suggestions for which a lot of people indicated they would be interested in helping make happen. But there were lots of other initiatives in the plan. If you haven't seen it, they are set out on these cards. There are some at the back, but if you can't find one, have a word with Sally or me and we will get one to you. And there are other initiatives that are already underway. I've been meeting with a group who have been starting conversations with others in the congregation, discussing how they feel about talking about their faith. We've received funding for a pioneer youth and family worker from the diocese. Well, 50% of the funding is coming from the diocese, and the generosity of members of the congregation mean we have made a substantial start on raising the other 60,000 match funding that we need to raise ourselves. Natalie and her team of helpers have restarted the Sunday afternoon teas, and in a few weeks' time we have the first of our Connect, Create and Celebrate services, an informal service for all, which will take place on Sunday afternoons at 3 o'clock and will happen on a monthly basis. Much is already underway, but there is still plenty for us to get involved in. There is still plenty for us to help make happen. Of course, we could decide to do nothing. We could decide that we're comfortable with how things are. But that's not what Jesus calls his followers to do. We're told to be lights to the world, not to hide our light under a bowl or a bushel basket. We are called to make disciples of all nations, not to keep the good news to ourselves. We're called to assist those in need, to feed the hungry, to clothe the naked, not to hoard and keep things to ourselves. Being a Christian is not a passive spectator sport. Being a Christian means to take part, whether as an elite athlete or perhaps more often as an unfit fun runner whose jogging is more often at the speed of a gentle walk, but still with the heart and intent of taking part and moving towards the goal, however slowly this might be. It's often said that Christians are the hands and feet of God on earth. Though the Holy Spirit is at work throughout all of us, God uses our hands and feet to make things happen. Some years ago, I came across a story, a version of which I have seen printed on birthday cards, and it tells the tale of a devout Christian caught in a flood. As the waters rose up his garden, he retreated to his front door. Some police officers in a 4x4 vehicle called to him, offering to take him to safety. No, don't worry, the Lord will save me, he replied. As the waters continued to rise, he climbed to the first floor of his house and looked out of a bedroom window. The fire officers in a passing rescue boat called to him, offering assistance. No, don't worry, the Lord will save me. As the waters continued to rise, he climbed to the roof of his house, and the crew of a helicopter called to offer him assistance. No, don't worry, the Lord will save me, the man continued to say. As the waters continued to rise, his house was engulfed, and the man drowned. But being a devout man, he found himself at the gates of heaven, being met by St. Peter. Why, he asked St. Peter, did the Lord not come to save me? Young man, replied St. Peter, who do you think sent the 4x4, the boat, and the helicopter? Though God was with man throughout, the hands and feet God used to send assistance belonged to the police officers, the fire officers, and the helicopter crew. Being a Christian is not about making excuses about what we can't do, but instead looking for ways so that we can do. We don't have to be perfect. We don't have to be able to do it all. But we should do something. As Edmund Burke, 18th century politician and one-time MP of Wendover, once said, no man made a greater mistake than he who did nothing because he could only do a little. And sometimes making things happen means that we need to be prepared to try new things. We need to things that we might think we're not able to do. But by being prepared to try, we might surprise ourselves and find that we are able to do them. It might take some effort and we might have some false starts along the way. But if we don't try, we won't know. When I'm teaching change, we encourage the students to try new things, and if they don't work, to reflect on why they didn't work and how they might try it differently next time. A quote we often share with the students is one that's often attributed to Albert Einstein. And it goes, a definition of madness is repeatedly doing the same thing, yet expecting a different result each time. If we want to make a difference to our community, both here in church and across Wendover, we need to be prepared to be adaptable, to be prepared to change, to be prepared to try new things. Amen.
So we had our wedding fair yesterday. Thank you to Natalie and her friend Maisie who organised that. Somebody said they thought I was going to be saying that it had been similar to the wedding dresses that we had last year. It wasn't at all. We did have some wedding dresses. The idea was we had suppliers here for folk to come in. So we had a goodly number, had some really, really nice suppliers. And I think it sparked all sorts of other ideas of what we could be doing here in church. So thank you, Natalie, for doing that. It was again an idea, and Natalie ran with it. So that's what we need to be doing. This coming week, we hope that on Wednesday the junior school will be here for the harvest services. I'm saying we hope, because the forecast doesn't look brilliant. But if they don't come here, Nadine and I will go up into school. And as always on a Thursday, we've got our 10 o'clock service of communion, where there's always coffee and lots of chat afterwards as well. Looking ahead, Matthew mentioned the service. It's going to be starting a new service on the 20th at 3 o'clock. So it's always going to be on the third Sunday of the month, called Connect. create and celebrate. So a chance to connect with God with different themes, a chance to create things, so there'll be craft things, and then celebrate, obviously, in worship and prayer, but also with something to eat. So that's what we're starting. And if you would like to be able to help with a craft or be able to help supply snacks, then Nadine or David's here to be able to talk to you about that. Sorry, I'm keeping going, scrolling through because there's lots and lots. So on the 25th, we've got a barn dance. So it's Friday the 25th. It's from 7 till 10:30. The tickets are £15, and that will include a fish and chip supper, which will get brought in. So please come along. It's a fundraiser. We're very grateful that the band who come are actually only charging us petrol money. So, it's a chance to really help to make a bit of a difference with our funds. So tickets are in Just, but I will make sure that there are some here in church next week, because I know there's plenty of people who can't get to Just during the week. So please come along to that. And then the other service that I want to tell you about is on the 3rd of November at 3 o'clock. It's our Thanksgiving and Memorial service. So that's an opportunity to remember people who have died. We automatically invite the families that we've been involved with through funerals or burial of ashes. But we also recognise that and I know there's a number of you sitting here now who've lost loved ones, will automatically get an email. But there are plenty of letters at the back there, so please take one and write the names down. Know that you are very welcome at that service to be able to come and to just spend some time remembering. I want to share a bit more. Some of you will have seen that Matthew has got a new job. Matthew is not leaving us. So that's my big message. Matthew is not stopping his curacy. He's with us till the summer, when he will then be signed off and be able to move on. But he's our part-time curate. And so the other part-time of his week, from the 4th of November, he's going to be the chaplain for St Peter's College in Oxford. So that's going to occupy him on half of Thursday and Friday and half of Sunday and Monday. And then he'll fit the rest all around that. And hopefully spend some time with Andrea and a bit of rest as well. But I know, Matthew, you're very excited about it. We are as well. It's obviously a great fit for you. So, Matthew will be around at slightly different time, but we'll be here on Sundays with us as usual. So, well done. David.
Next Saturday we've got an exciting event taking place in Western Turville, an eco-community event, and it will be in the village hall between 10 and 4 p.m, and it's free. So if you want to find out about how to reduce your energy bills, make your home a bit cosier and more comfortable, there will be experts on hand giving advice, and there will also be information about renewables. So if you're interested in solar panels or electric heat pumps, there will be suppliers and installers there with stalls and giving talks. There'll be all manner of other things, included guided nature walks by local naturalist John Tyler. I don't know if you remember, a few years back he did some fascinating walks around the churchyard and Hampden Pond. He's going to be there doing those. So do come along and join us, and there will be lots of activities for children as well.
I've just remembered. I'm looking at Carol and Mike because I was just checking back through and I realised I didn't tell you that at 2:30 today there is one of our church walks. They happen every month, leaving here at 2:30, going through the village and along the canal, and then to the new-ish cafe on Castle Park Road, so to Gusto. And then I think if you want to walk a bit further, they can walk back round by the reservoir. But the forecast this afternoon is okay, isn't it? Okay, yeah. I think it's a bit later on, it gets a bit wet. So please, if you want to, for that. And I meant to say this at 9 o'clock. So the doors are mended. So please use the pads. Please, if you are using the handle, to pull or to push, but not to push from the wrong side, because that's what happened. So, but preferably use the pads to get in and out of them. Thank you.